Hello and welcome back to Alejandro HD. Today is part two of the Life in the UK test that we'll be covering. This is the first chapter, the values and principles in the UK. So, the fundamentals of any person who wants to be a British citizen state there, democracy, rule of law, individual liberty, tolerance of those with different faiths and beliefs. Essentially, just be a good person. I think most of it is self explanatory. I suppose people who come from nations that maybe are governed by a monarchy or a government that isn't fully democratic, we need to understand how the voting system works and how parliamentary procedures work, local council and governments and things like that. So I see there's probably a lot there to uncover. Um, I suppose I suppose that most of them are self-explanatory. When it comes to democracy, depending on which country you live in the UK, that will be a deciding factor of who you vote for. If you live in one of the devolved nations like Scotland or Wales or Northern Ireland, you have to vote in the government election for the whole of the UK and for the country's government. So, for example, if you live in Scotland, you would need to vote for um, well, you wouldn't need to, but it'd be good if you did vote for a government that will sit in the country's parliament, and then also the main government's, like in Westminster. But we'll get into that in a little bit. Tolerance of those who have faiths and beliefs. Of course, the country is filled up with lots of people from lots of different backgrounds and ethnic, diverse cultures. So it's good to let people do as they please. Don't instigate violence or anything like that. Participation in community life. That's just essentially be kind to the neighbours. You know, volunteer things like that. Just essentially just try and give something back to the community. It's all very well received in Britain. And if you do all of these things, you won't go too far wrong. So the Citizens Pledge is, of course, what you will have to say when you go to the testing centre. Um, you'll give your loyalty to the UK, respect its rights and freedoms, uphold democratic values, observe the laws, and faithfully fulfil your duties to be a British citizen. Very simple and basic. I don't think you need to memorise this. I think you will maybe be given a card, or they'll maybe make you repeat it back to them and things like that. So not to worry too much about actually remembering this. This is just good to have, uh, or good to see, just so you know exactly what you'll be giving to the country. I've covered this in the last video. Just all the sort of stuff that you need to do to be a good citizen, or um, not a good citizen, citizen of the UK. So just right, speak and read English, pretty basic stuff. Obey the law, treat others with fairness. Just really normal things. And then, of course, what you will receive in return of being a British citizen is all the things you see on the right. So freedom of speech, right to a fair trial, freedom of discrimination, participating in elections, as I said earlier, it's a very important thing. So yeah, lots of good stuff there, and it's all basically common sense. There's not really a lot there that we need to. I think that I would need to sort of say that you should do. Maybe one thing I would say is in the test. There's a lot of questions that will say becoming a UK resident will include you doing the following, and then you have to choose two or three different answers. So I'll say like, does it require you to speak and read English? Does it require you to look after the area in which you live? Okay, yes, those are correct. And it might throw something in there that isn't correct. So does it say you will have the right to ride donkeys or something? Like not a very silly answer that will obviously not be there. So these bullet points are probably quite important for like a testing point of view. So I would say try and soak up as much of these as you can, because those will come in the test. Okay. So the UK. So the UK is made up of England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. This is important. The official name of the country is United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. So you will be asked that in the test. I have seen that in quite a few mock tests. What is the official name of the country? So it is the official. the name of the country is the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Um, Northern Ireland isn't, well, it is part of the UK, but it's not part of Great Britain. So Great Britain, of course, is, you know, England, Wales, and Scotland. The UK is England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. Bit confusing, but that's just British politics. Then you've got the Crown dependencies. So Crown dependencies aren't obviously part of the UK, but they, at one point were involved heavily in sort of Britain, where governing part of the British Empire, or part of the sort of monarchy, and so on. So St Helena and the Falkland Islands are very famous. I mean, there are more, but those are the two that will come up in the test. So keep an eye out for them. So say which is which countries are crown dependencies: St Helena and the Falklands. Very important to know that. We'll probably cover them in future videos as well, because they are sort of, there's some things in there that are quite important. The UK government is based, like the main government is based in Westminster, so that's the Parliament itself. So that's based in England and London. So you need to know that. In the UK government, in the Parliament, sorry, in the Parliament of Westminster, there is the Prime Minister who sits there, and that's where all the MPs meet to discuss important things, country elections, and so on. So, and then of course they have the devolved powers. So Wales, Northern Ireland, and Scotland have their own parliaments, separate from Westminster. So they have laws specific to their countries, that aren't the same as in England. I mean, Westminster governs all, but there are certain things in Northern Ireland and in Wales and in Scotland that are different from um, England, and that's because of the devolved powers, which we'll cover in just a little bit. That's what you really need to know there. The key and important things is remember the official name. Remember that there are crown dependencies that are not part of the UK, but still are. They've got their own governments, but they're sort of still tied into the UK, and where the Parliament sits in Westminster, in England. So Scotland, we'll start with them because that's where I'm from. Scotland, the Parliament resides in the capital city of Edinburgh, and Holyrood. So Holyrood's just a place in Edinburgh. It was formed on the 1st of July 1999. It's important. Remember the dates. The dates are important. Um, it was granted devolved powers uh, around that time. Before that, they didn't have a government, so we had to follow on Westminster. So when the Parliament was formed in 1999, that's when Scotland was able to make decisions by themselves. The flag of Scotland is the Saltire, or the St Andrew's Cross. So you don't really need to know too much about this. This is why these are quite small slides. This is just for reference in case anyone asks in the test, you know, specifics about an individual country, like where is the Parliament? What is the capital city of Edinburgh? What's the flag called? Little things like that, little facts. Wales. So Wales is Wales. The capital city is Cardiff. They were granted um, enhanced powers by the Government of Wales Act 2006. Now, I know that they had a devolved government before that, but they hadn't really been given too many um, devolved powers until 2006. So they weren't. It wasn't fully. They weren't just given like all the powers in 2006. There were things that were happening before that, but that's when they really started to govern themselves properly. The flag is the red dragon, or whatever that says in Welsh. I'm not going to butcher the language by trying to pronounce that. That won't come up in the test, but the name of is the flag, the red dragon might do, but it won't come up in Welsh because you won't need to know Welsh to become a UK citizen. You just need to know English. That's why I'm not talking about the individual languages of any countries too, because it would be here forever. So yeah, so again, just the capital city is Cardiff. Um, the Welsh Assembly were granted powers in 2006, and the flag's the red dragon. All pretty much straightforward. Northern Ireland. Now, Northern Ireland's a bit of a headache. just because there's a lot of political things around it. But essentially, the Parliament resides in the capital city of Belfast. The building I haven't actually wrote on the PowerPoint, but important to note that the building is called Stormont, um, and that's where it actually resides. So, of course, like we said, the English one is called Westminster. The Northern Irish Parliament is called Stormont. It was established in 1999 under the Northern Ireland Act. Again, there's a lot of political and a lot of unstable history with Northern Ireland. Luckily enough, we don't need to know that for the test because we'd be here forever. Um, and the flag. So there's not actually an official flag of Northern Ireland. So the flag that is there, it's in the PowerPoint, is the Ulster flag, but that was only used in their government until 1973, and then it was there was nothing after that. So we don't actually have a flag of Northern Ireland, but the most common flag that's used and referenced is the flag of the Ulster flag. So we'll just go with that one. It might ask you in the test, is there a flag of Northern Ireland? You'll just say no, because there's not. This is the most common flag to reference to, but there's no real flag of Northern Ireland. England. So England Parliament sits in Westminster. The so I mean the government was established in the 14th century, but um, England's a very complicated place when it comes to ruling classes because there was a monarchy, kings and queens and everything. And we'll get into that in the history. But what you need to know is that in 1707, when Great Britain became Great Britain, Wales, England, Scotland, not the UK. We need to remember that. It's important. That's when the 1707 Treaty of the Union. So that was when England sort of had their first proper, fully functional um, parliament, because Parliament for a long time was, made up of lords, and then it was the monarchy, and then no one, and then lords, and then monarchy. It was a lot of change in hands depending on which king was involved or queen was involved at the time. So it's a very convoluted history when it comes to the government of England. It's specifically of England, but what we need to know is that um, in 1707 it became, you know, the Westminster government, and that's and it was established in 1707. So that's the most important thing there. The flag is called the St George's Cross, and it's a red cross. And yeah, that's the end of that one. So that's pretty much covered the first chapter, the values and the principles of the UK. It's not a very long chapter. As long as you just get the absolute basics correct, you should be fine for the first part of the test. Just remember all this, like I say, all the basics. The the UK, this is probably the most important thing to remember. And then the little facts about each country. The reason why I've only wrote these ones is because I know that these ones will come up in the test, so it's good to just familiarise yourself with the dates. 1999 for Scotland, 2006 for Wales, 1998 for Northern Ireland, and for England. Don't worry too much about that because they'll probably ask you more about where the government sits rather than when was it established, because established the 14th century, but dates are very misconstrued. Also, we'll cover a lot of English history and the UK history in the following videos, so we'll have plenty of time for all of that. And also the crown dependencies. I know sometimes they'll come up with a trick question. What are not the crown dependencies? And then they'll have like a big list like Argentina, Spain. They're just like silly countries that you'll know won't be there because you'll remember St Helena and the Falklands. Those are the only two crown dependencies. And Northern Ireland is not part of Great Britain, but it is part of the UK, United Kingdom. So little tricks. It's like kind of we make it hard for ourselves, but that's essentially it. So I hope you enjoyed that video, and the next video will be looking into the history of Britain. It will be called, the chapter is called Early Britain, so that's um, medieval times essentially. So I'll figure out how to do that. That's going to be a long one. I'll probably just put in as much facts and as less gumph as I can to make it short. Anyway, thanks for watching that, and I hope you found it helpful. And if you're going for the test, good luck, and yeah, if you can follow along with me, I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.